Have you ever felt like you were different? Have you ever felt like you just weren't quite like everybody else? In social settings, while other people enjoy talking and being around each other for long periods of time, and you enjoy it for a while, but at a certain point you typically hit a wall and you feel like you need to just break away and recharge. Or while some people prefer to say the first thing that comes to their mind and get their thoughts out right away, you prefer to take your time to really think through what you're thinking, to think deeply, process things, and then get your words out. Well, if you can relate to either of the scenarios I just described, then there's a good chance that you're probably an introvert. And if you're like I was, you might actually think there's something wrong with that. Or people might have led you to believe that there's something wrong with it, or there's something that you have to change about yourself. Well, we're about to go on a journey to completely change the way you view introversion forever. Welcome to Quiet Voice, Fearless Mind. Welcome to the first ever episode of Quiet Voice, Fearless Mind, a show where we help introverts and aspiring leaders to become who they want to be. I'm your host, Terrence Lee, aka The Introvert Leader. Welcome to the show. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for future updates. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, make sure to leave a rating and also a review. I would love to hear your thoughts on the episode today. So with this being the first episode, I really just wanted to introduce myself, tell a little bit about where the thought and the concept for Quiet Voice, Fearless Mind came from, give you some background, talk about format of the show, and some things you'll have to look forward to as we get into future episodes. So I think for you to really understand where I'm coming from, to understand the passion behind the Introvert Leader movement and Quiet Voice, Fearless Mind, I really have to take you through my entire self-discovery and introvert journey. And a lot of this I talk about in my book, Quiet Voice, Fearless Leader, but just to start at the beginning. So I was a kid that moved around a lot. My dad took a number of different roles. He was an accountant when I was growing up. And so he took different roles, moving through the corporate ladder and taking different positions. And so those roles moved us around. So I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. We then moved to Dallas, Texas. We then moved to Northern California, then Southern California, then Rochester, New York, and then back to Dallas. And so I was a kid that was used to being the new kid in school. And as the new kid in school, you are meeting new people and you're trying to fit in, you're trying to find your way, find your place, right? And so I was used to being in that kind of situation, and I was actually a pretty loud and lively kid. I was very loud, actually to the point where I got in trouble for it many times. And a situation happened when I was 13 where I was in a choir at school. And at the time I loved to sing. Like my favorite things to do were to write and to sing. Those were my two favorite things in the world. And then basketball was right there too. So, singing was just a passion of mine. And this choir director at the school, for some reason, we just didn't have a good relationship. She used to really get on me hard, like more than the other kids in the choir. And so anyway, fast forward one particular day, and I could just tell she was kind of in a mood that day. And I was a tenor in the choir, so I had a deeper voice back then in seventh grade than a lot of the other kids in my class. So I was in the tenor section. And for some reason, I really had made up in my mind that I was going to impress her that day. Like that was going to be the day that I was going to get all the notes right. I was just really going to do a good job, right? And so, she started playing the song on the piano, and the sopranos sang their part, the altos sang their part. And then it got to our section, the tenors, last. And I began to sing, and I thought I was like doing really good. I mean, I was singing my heart out. I was really trying to impress her, really trying to do a good job. And I remember like it was yesterday, she slammed the piano cover down very loudly. I mean, like you could hear a pin drop in the room after she did it. And everyone was just kind of looking around, me and the other students, like, oh my God, like, what is she about to say? And she turned around in her chair and she looked me dead in my eyes. And she said, "Terry Lee, you are off key. You know what? You need to just stop singing. Stop singing right now." And she said that, and the kids behind me, and some of you watching this can probably remember what middle school is like. You can remember how cruel kids are when they're 12, 13, 14 years old. And I could hear the kids behind me in the risers laughing. I felt myself start to get hot. I was extremely just embarrassed. I started sweating. I put my head down. It was a terrible feeling. And she started playing the song again, and the rest of the kids went back to singing, and I didn't say anything the rest of the time. I actually had a book. I used to write all my poems and all of my songs and everything in. And I went home that night, and that book that had all of those poems and all those things I had been writing, I threw that in the trash that night. So that was it was a turning point for me. I noticed that after that happened, things really started to change with me. I went from being the louder kid, the talkative kid, to not really wanting to say much. I would really kind of sit in the back of the class. I wouldn't really answer any questions if the teacher asked the question. When I was around my friends, for some reason, I started to feel like a lot more timid. Like I might have something to say, but I just wouldn't say it. I started to doubt myself a lot more. And what's crazy is this is when I was 13, and these feelings started to carry through my life. So when I got to high school, it was the same way. When I got to college, it was the same thing. It's not that I didn't have friends or I would never speak up or anything, but it's just if there was an opportunity for like a leadership role or an opportunity to speak in front of a group or anything like that, I wanted nothing to do with it. I would just completely push it away. So when I left college, my career started, and I majored in engineering. So I got a role at a defense contractor in Fort Worth, Texas. And there was a turning point, something that happened, which I'm going to save that story for a later episode, but it really changed the game for me. I was lacking a lot of confidence, I realized, and I began to have people that saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And they began to really pour into me. And they told me things that I had never thought about myself or I never even considered. Things like, "Terrence, I see you as a future leader. Terrence, I see leadership potential in you." They began to really just pour into me in a way that I just never thought. So it really changed the trajectory for me. And so fast forward, I ended up starting to get leadership roles. Over time, just through my work ethic and just different conversations I was having with people about leadership, learning about leadership, following different leaders, modeling leaders that I saw at the companies I was at. And eventually I found myself in leadership roles. And what was really cool about it was that I was able to still be my introvert self, like my personality, the way that I carry myself, the way that I do things. For so long, I thought it was wrong. For so long, I thought that I had to transform and be someone that I completely wasn't. And I actually was able to learn to leverage who I am to an advantage. Introverts are too quiet and too weak to lead. Have you ever heard this before? Well, my name is Terrence, and for years as an introvert, I didn't think I had what it took to be a leader. What I learned was being an introvert is my superpower. If you want to learn how to have success as an introvert, then go to quietvoicefearlessleader.com to learn more. And it was great. It was an amazing feeling. And so in November 2020, I created the Introvert Leader. And the reason I created the Introvert Leader was I found myself now in these leadership roles in the corporate environment. And I asked myself, how did I get here? How did I get from that kid that was told to never sing again? How did I get from that, high school kid that could have been running for different, student offices and things, and I just wouldn't do it because I didn't believe in myself? Or in college when I wanted to be in student government, but I was afraid to talk in front of people, so I would never try to be in those situations. How did I get to where I am now? And I realized that there are probably a lot of other introverts out there that may feel the same way. They may feel like their introversion is a disadvantage as opposed to an advantage, or society has made them feel that way, or society has made them feel like what they are is wrong. So that's why I created the Introvert Leader, and that's the purpose of Quiet Voice, Fearless Mind. Because see, so many of these things that we believe, they start in the mind. And whatever we affirm to ourselves, whether positive or negative, it takes root, right? So with Quiet Voice, Fearless Mind, we're going to touch on a lot of topics related to introversion, related to leadership, related to mindset. We're going to really be about making sure that we have the right frame of mind going into any situation, because the mind is powerful. And so I don't have all of the answers, but I'm somebody that has gone through an experience where I did not believe in myself, and I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I was alone. I thought nobody really understood. I thought I was just the quiet person in the group. And what I've realized is that the reality is over 40% of the population has an introverted personality. So if you're listening to this, or if you're watching this, if you feel alone, if you feel like something's wrong with you, if you feel like you have to be someone else to get ahead, I can promise you that's not the case. And you found your community, and you have found the people that understand where you're coming from. So listen, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Just wanted to give a quick welcome and introduce myself, give you some background on who I am and the passion behind this show and what we're doing. And so we'll have a new episode coming every week, and I'm super excited. I mean, we've got some really good topics, and this show is really all about the people. And what's really cool is on social media, I've been asking people for topics for different things that, they care about as fellow introverts or even extroverts that may want to know more about introverts. And so we've gotten so much great feedback, and it's been awesome to see. So I'm excited to, produce that, to show you that over the upcoming weeks and upcoming months. So one thing that we're going to do is with every episode, I'd like to end the episode with a quote, with something powerful. So this particular quote, the first one, is going to come from fellow introvert and someone that may surprise you, but Oprah Winfrey. And the quote says, "You have the right to change your mind." You have the right to change your mind. So whatever you believe about yourself, whatever you believe about introversion, whatever you believe about extroversion, whatever you believe to be true, you have the right to change that. See, we can change our minds. Again, whatever we affirm to ourselves, whether positive or negative, begins to take root. So the goal with Quiet Voice, Fearless Mind is for us to begin to change our mindsets, to begin to just have mindsets that are built on us winning. They're shaping us for success. That's what it's all about. So regardless of what we believed prior to this about who we are, we're going to step into who we truly want to be, our true authentic selves, and we're going to win going forward. So that's going to be the goal for the show. So until next time, remember, there's only one you, and there's only one life. So make it count. God bless.